What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Numotus Does a Thing. And today's thing is we're going to be mixing down this song of mine. So I put a good amount of work into this, but it's definitely not done. The song is called Power to the People. Planning on releasing it sometime in March. So let's just play the whole thing through and see how it sounds. That sound?
The people giving people the power to put it down. Power to the people giving people the power to put it down.
Okay, that's pretty much the gist of the song. So right away I can tell that this build-up needs work, and I think I'm going to need to split up this drum loop and see if I can remake that, because I definitely want that snare to hit a bit harder, and just have the drums hit a bit harder in general. Usually what I do to make the drums hit a lot harder is I have this punch send track, and then I have a Pro C, but you can use any compressor pretty much on this, but you want to have a decently high attack. I have mine not very high just because this is a fast tempo. So what I do, and there's resources online for this too, but I have basically this unit conversion spreadsheet. So I have hertz to milliseconds in this page, and I have BPM to milliseconds on this page. So if we go back, we'll see that the song is 89 beats per minute, but it's really, that's 178, so this is fast. So that's going to say that 64th note is 21, 132nd note is 42. So let's make this 42. And I can double click it and just type it in 42. If you want to get real precise, 42.13. These Fab Filter plugins are great, and same with Ableton. You can type in anything, like for instance with this, if I type in 31.47 whatever, I don't know how many digits it'll hold, but it'll hold a bunch, so you can get very precise. So now let's listen to what's actually going on in this punch track. So the attack is what's letting that transient through, and then it's killing everything else because the ratio is turned up so high. I can even turn the release down even more. But we actually don't have that loop coming into this track. So what I can do, I don't want to send this to that same track and have that interfere with the way that the compressor is working. So what I can do is take that compressor and copy it on there and put it in a group. And actually I don't need to put it in a group because I can just do this and say it's right here, this right, mix. There we go. Turn this down to around 50. So let's solo this now. So yeah, the drum hits are just happening too fast for it to really do anything. So we're going to have to come up with another solution for that. And I think there's too much reverb happening right there. I think that's going on the beats channel. Nope. Here's where the reverb is happening. So I believe this macro is controlling the dry wet of the reverb. So I don't want it to come in quite as much. First of all, let's see what's actually going on with the automation here. So it's starting up there, but it's still a bit too much reverb. So yeah, it's going up to 100%. Let's put it at around 60. See how that sounds from here. So then they start coming in a bit sooner. And I think this synth here is way too bright. It's not way too bright, but it's a bit too bright. And that's a combination of these, which I think there was a lot of voices in these, so I rendered it down. But got your chords there, and your lead there, and then this is like, it has this click there. There's just too much going on. Yeah. That's fine. And we also have the pluck carrying this melody along too. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of filtering on this, so it will continue to build. It like reaches peak intensity when I want it to reach peak intensity at the drop, not here. So yeah, no, I don't really want any resonance. Yeah, that's fine. That doesn't have too much high end. So now we're going to want to just bring this up. And instead of, we don't need this. We don't really need a separate track for this reverse. Let's see how it sounds if I just put it there. And then we're going to crossfade these. So that's sounding a bit better. We've got this reverb kick going on, which I think is a bit too much. I've got vintage verb on here, so I'm going to turn it down a bit, but I still want this thumpiness. And there's, yeah, turn off the pre-delay. It's still giving me a lot of this echo slapback type thing. Maybe that's this. Maybe it's this. Yeah, I think it's that. Oh. What does it say? Attack controls the initial attack of the reverb. Adjust the perceived distance from the source within the reverb. Okay, and then this is the mix being automated. We're going to leave that. And I think this could use even more effects going on during this part. There's no riser here. There isn't even a riser here in the build, really. There's this bit. I don't even know if you guys can hear that. You got this riser. But that just kind of complements the end of the drop. So let's see if we can find another riser to add in here. This technically is not mixing. This is part of the arrangement, but it is still part of mixing because we're trying to get the mix to sound full. So if it needs another element, then you gotta add it. But usually you're not gonna add like a whole nother synth or a whole nother, you know, main lead sound or vocal sound during this stage. So let's grab a riser. I actually do really like that one as like a short riser. We'll reverse it. Let's use that. So let's create 2 more tracks. Riser 1 and Riser 2. I probably have other riser tracks on here, but let's throw this in the build there. And we're going to get rid of this. Oh, we do have a little tiny riser. Huh. Is there something going on? No, we have an imager on the effects just to kind of control the stereo field of the low end, which is good. So that's a part of the mixing that I've done already. But I don't like this, how this riser sounds. Let's use this. And we can then reverse it and stretch it out a bit more. I like to put this type of thing on texture mode and then turn this up maybe halfway, and it gives you this really, it's like more of this warping sound. Okay. And these are ones that I made. These are in the sample pack that's on my website. But I don't know, I actually might use that. Like the high end is totally... Yeah, what happened here? Oh, we have this soloed. There we go, that should bring out our effects more. Use your ears. Okay, that's definitely bringing in some more energy. That I don't really like. I could use a sub drop there. Hold on. Step one is level this correctly. So I'll walk you guys through the leveling process, which is already mostly done. I think we'll do that in a sec.
Power to the people, giving people the power to put it down.
There should be a reverse crash or something. I didn't put any crashes in this song. I stopped putting them in the effects group. They go in the drums group, but I actually didn't put any in this song. So down here, let's make another track and call this Symbol. And then I'm going to go ahead and search for Symbol. So I'm kind of looking for something bright but short. That's fine. And then I'm just going to reverse it into itself. I think that's good.
Power to the people, giving people the power to put it down. Power to the people, giving people the power to put it down.
I want this to be even shorter. It needs something, but I think it wants one of these deeper crashes. Ooh, it's in mono. There we go, that's a stereo one.
Put it down.
And then we definitely want to copy these over. Although on the downbeats here, the impact is not really on the downbeat. So if I put this here, let's see if it sounds alright. Sounds alright, but we're going to turn it down. These kind of should be articulated. Well, just arranged so that they have the most impact. So like this obviously can't really go on the downbeat. So I like that. I'm going to turn these back up to like minus 4 is good. And then turn this down to like negative 11 because this was a little too loud. So now I said I would take you guys through the leveling process, so let's go ahead and do that. So this one is a bit tricky because I have this loop going on, which is most of the beat. Most of the beat is happening because of this loop. So first we want to just get the kick. I have this glue compressor on the master just so you guys can hear it compared to my voice. I think, but now it's going to be pretty quiet. So honestly, you want the kick to be, you want to grab a section where the kick is happening. And -8 is usually alright. I know plenty of people mix it to -12, and I mix to -12 plenty of times too. But at this point, then you want to bring in the sub. This project isn't the greatest in terms of organization. I do have a sub in here, don't I? Ah, no, here it is. This is my sub right here. So there's a lot of clicking going on, and I think that's mostly because of this sidechain. No. Is there another sidechain? Mixing is all about problem solving, so a lot of times it just takes a while to find what the heck is going on. So this is where the problem is occurring. So what I do with my main sidechain is I have another serum rack, but it's serum effects, and I learned this trick from AU5, where you basically create an envelope that follows a MIDI input, and the MIDI input comes from the drum rack that you have your drums in. So every time the kick and the snare hits, it sends this pattern, and that pattern controls this volume through the distortion rack. Although what I've been doing lately too, actually I'll just open the preset because I remade this FX sidechain V2. So now nothing's going on, but if I turn this macro up, so it's still giving us some clicking. So what I think I'm going to do is, I believe I can do this, Control Shift T to make a new MIDI and just call this sub. If I'm going for too fast for any of you guys, I know this project is already kind of built and it's based off of a lot of techniques that I've been using for a while. But if you guys have questions about what's going on, just leave a comment and a timestamp, and I will explain what's going on, or maybe I'll make a whole nother video about that. So now what we've got is a whole nother instrument. And that is our, oh, so this might be why it was being weird. I have this delay time set. I'm not sure why. I'm not going to touch it right now. I'm going to leave it as -4 milliseconds. There must have been a reason that I did that. But, you know, your ears can fool you sometimes. So, anyway, now I can go ahead and take the bass line and send it to sends only and turn up the send D all the way. And then maybe some of these sends have been sent too much. This exciter is what's giving it a lot of just emphasizing the high end. And this is like a rack with just an EQ to isolate the high end, and then saturator, overdrive, and compression. Then depending on how much you send to it, it will emphasize the highs more or less. So I actually like that a lot. And it's being sent to the punch. I don't know why. That's probably interfering with the way that it's compressing the drums. But it is something that you want to punch through. Maybe I'll find a different way to do that though. This reverb sounds way too far away, this room reverb. So I usually, this is just part of my template. I usually use this where I have a Valhalla room and I have a Native Instruments RC48, which is one of my favorite reverbs. And I have, I mean, Valhalla is obviously one of my favorite reverbs, can't beat it. We basically have a chain selector here that you can blend between the two reverbs, so I can create a unique reverb sound. We have a bandpass control, we have decay controls. This took me a minute to set up, brightness controls, and then pre-delay controls. But I'm going to scrap this and make something from scratch. And just grab another Valhalla room. And I don't want this to be a giant thing, so I'm going to grab one of these dense rooms. I picked the preset wide drums just because I want my send reverb to be adding width to the mix. You always want your send reverb at 100% because the percentage is controlled by how much you're sending here. So then we've got the vocals sent too much. Okay, so now I can go back to here and say that 128th note is 10.53 milliseconds. So we can type that in here, and then I can bring my decay up to maybe so that's fine for now. That's a quick and dirty way to set up your send reverb. And to make a send track, you want to hit Control R, Alt R. Sorry, that shows and hides the send tracks. And hit Control Alt T will create a new send track, or a return track. But they are the same thing. They're just two different names. Another name for them is a bus, but this is also a bus, but it's called a group. This is crazy the way it's named. So it's hitting at 8, and I would want the sub to hit at like, I think I'm gonna have the sub hit at 16. Yeah, see, it varies, but at the max, it comes up to almost 16. And I think that's good. The sub even sounds a little bit loud to me. We might turn it back down when I actually master the track. So you want to intelligently set the release time for your sidechain compressor on the sub. And so we'd go back in here. I think that 84 is going to be good for a sidechain time here. But let's see how it sounds. Yep, that sounds alright to me. We've got this special bass widener, which is basically splitting the very, very lows. So everything below 120, which is basically all your sub. But then the sub also has some content up here, which I'm gonna kind of hug. But then what I've got is two utilities, and I'm inverting the left phase here, and then just kind of tweaking it slightly with another utility, and then doing more EQ. So that is giving it giving me this effect that's widening the sub, that's widening the bass, while still having monocompatibility, and I'm not actually messing with anything below around 120. I'm not really messing with any of the low frequencies, but that gives it a real wide effect. So now we're also obviously going to copy this down. Okay, so to continue with the leveling, with this one it's a bit more complicated. There's more stuff going on because I'm not going to take the time to separate this snare from here. Although I could totally do that. Actually, let's do that. And I'm just going to speed up the video. Okay, that wasn't so bad. So now we've got the snare separated. Sounds like junk. I'm going to send it a little bit more to my reverb. And now I can also send this to the punch track, which is B. But we do have another snare layer. Clap and a snare layer going on here. So I love layering my stuff, but that's a technique that takes a while to get right. So I'll definitely make a video on that in the future about how I do drum layering. So now you want the kick and the snare to be pretty much hitting at the same level. So actually now what I can do to really simplify this is get rid of all this. Basically put a little bit of fade on here and get rid of the fade from the beginning. Consolidate that and then open up my main drum rack, which is just called kick snare, and then drop this guy in here. Coolio. We'll have to get the balance of that right, but from here, oh man, do I do it? Sure. This can complicate things if you need to change some of the drum arrangements, but I don't think I'm going to change much at all, and it's still not impossible. So now I'm just going to copy all the snares so that that layer is included, and we've got the same effect. And if I listen to it with these, so I do want to turn this back up. Okay. Just a bit of tweaking to get it to sit perfectly. There was a bit more high end in the left channel. So the drums are sounding pretty good. I'm going to put a little bit more compression on the kick. What's going on here? Like, really? Okay, I see what I did. This is the reverb kick, which I literally just copied the kick. I think I don't even need that. Yeah, I don't like the way that this sounds at all, really. What I'm going to do is just create an audio track and find an impact that sounds good. So we're going to call this kick impact. And search for impact. That one's good. And I think that fits quite nicely. I just need to turn it down a lot. I'm going to turn it down even more. Let's say -16. I think I cut off a bit too much with this auto filter. Let's start it at around 5K. There we go. That's where you just start to get around 7Ks, where you just start to get this like piercing, but like it's not piercing, it just gives it a lot of energy. It's where that brightness comes in. And then I can go copy, duplicate envelope. All right, and let's see if there's anything going on with these leads that are going to mess up the mix. I know I did want to bring in a bit more brightness into the second half of this drop. No way. Okay, this is not a yoy. I think I just changed the preset. Yoy, 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 yoy. Okay. Cool. Now put that on. I hope you guys could have heard that, but I'm going to turn this glue compressor back on just so it's boosted. See, I completely forgot about that lead. It sounds like it, but that's there. It's in the layer. I'm gonna see if I can edit this just a little bit. This is in Reactor. Yeah, the chorus was making it a bit strange. Okay. So yeah, right here there was an extra drum I just heard. So mute that. So a lot of mixing is actually arrangements because you want certain things to shine through the mix during certain points, specifically this vocal. So what I've got on the vocal is this vocal shimmer rack, and then Pro Q. And what this is doing is we have heavy compression on the high end, and we've got this high boost, which can really bring out the high end. And then we can control this. So I'm turn this up just a bit, turn this down just a bit. That really gives the vocal a lot of air and allows you to hear it in the mix. So what I will do at this point is I'll go over here down to my master and grab this. This is a very neat trick, the 3 extremes rack, and the 3 extremes in your mix are your lows, your highs, and your sides, the stereo field. And then I have a mono track here, and so you can control which is being heard with these little knobs right here. I will do a video very soon about making effect racks and instrument racks, and I will go through basically how to make something like this. But for now, that's turned on. So there we go. So now we're only hearing the lows. Yeah, and as I suspected, my kick is really not punching through enough. So I do want to turn this sub down. I'm going to turn that down another 3. And then on my kick over here, it's much easier to go find it here and then drop a compressor on it. And I'm just going to use the glue compressor because it's a very good go-to type thing. We've got, well, what do we've got? Okay, we have a little bit of EQ going on. We've got a transient designer. And then in the mix full, how does it sound? Yeah, way harder. We're actually going to put this before the EQ. Yeah, I felt that gave it even more high end that it didn't need. You always want your kick to be hitting at every frequency in the spectrum. So that takes me to the next of the three extremes, so I'm going to listen to just the highs. So you can hear that click of the kick there. You should be able to hear pretty much every instrument should have some kind of presence in the high. And you should be able to tell what the song is, what almost the whole song is, by just listening to the high end. I definitely think this horn section needs work, but I've recently downloaded session horns, so I'm going to work on that, but that's not something for this video. But for now, that sounds good. So, and now we can listen to just the sides. So like I said, that sub, I took the top part of the sub and made it really wide, but I think that it's too much. I'm just going to turn down the part that I made wide and see how that sounds. So unfortunately the spectrum only picks up stuff in mono, so when I play it like this, but you really shouldn't have anything below 100 or so in your sides, and it sounds like that's good. And it also sounds like there's no real drum transients. All the drum transients are happening in mono, and that gives them a lot more energy. So if I listen to just the mono track, I do think that my main bass line could have a little more presence in the center. So I'm still listening to this. In mono. I'm going to just mute this rack so I listen to the whole thing. Would you look at that? So this is really why it's great to set up these racks, because you can easily dial in parts of your sound just right here with these macros. And if you don't know how to set this up using external instruments like Serum, it's very easy. You click this button, you click configure, and then you click one of these. Once you click it, it'll show up in this panel, and then you can map it to a macro, or you can automate it and just see what's going on. I think that helped a lot. Let's listen to it again. Let's listen to it again in mono. Okay, and then you usually want to have an EQ on the end of your effect chains, because even if you high pass things like see that, even if you do that, I'm cutting out the bottom, but it came back because of this reverb and because of the sausage fattener and the limiter here. So we're going to cut it off again. That's my only bass. Usually I'll have a lot of different basses going on, especially if it's a dubstep track. I'll have like 3 or 4. and then I'll put a multi-band compression on the group of those. But I don't have that right now. I think it sounds pretty good. I'm going to run through this song one more time and do a couple last changes and then leave it at that. So what you want to do is listen to your song with your eyes closed and make sure that everything is working. So already I think that the synths are a little bit too just wet, you know? So we've got a delay here, and I'm going to turn down the mix. Or, no, was that being automated? No. Okay, I'm going to turn down the mix, because that's affecting all the synths. So right there, as the filter sweep comes up on the drum loop, there's much too much resonance. And we're going to want to get rid of that. So what's going on? I think that's here. Yep, right here. So it was adding something good during this section. And I think what was good about it is what was happening here. Okay, yeah, we're going to have to start this off. First of all, I'm going to duplicate this so I'm not messing with my drums in the drop. And I'm going to do some quick automation where this... actually, delete this rack. I want these drums to be really clear. In fact, I can simply record automation as I'm kind of hearing it. Okay, I think that really smoothed out the transition. And I even have more de-essing going on here. Let's now copy this over and turn off the automation lock so that it does copy the automation. There we go. And now I promise I'm going to listen to the whole thing. I think it could use another synth layer. So yeah, now the bass line is all out of whack. So I think that's where I'm going to end the video though. Thanks for watching, guys. I will make a part 2 of mixing down this track, and I hope to see you there. Peace.